Dear YouTube, I am making this video very simply because I want to explain some of the thoughts I've been having just now and that have been lingering in my mind in relation to the general thoughts that I've been having over time relating to eugenics and genetically modified food. I know that there's been a lot of skepticism, cynicism and general debate about genetically modified food where the individual proclaims that he or she is the expert on the subject. Well, actually I myself would be quite sceptical of this. Now, I would just like to run through a few thoughts I've had. So I am aware of a study, and I don't know how easy it is to search for this study, but I may add a link later. And that is a study done on rats that are susceptible to tumours. And they're already susceptible to tumours, but it was found that I think that feeding them genetically modified soy actually increased these tumours somewhat. Now, it would be very easy to be pseudo-scientific and completely avoid and ignore the hypothesis for personal gain, potentially. But the interesting thing is that it is actually still a study. A study is a study, is it not? And I would like to share my thoughts on this. So I think basically there's and it talks about fertility as well. So basically there's sort of a relation between cancer and fertility, is there not? Perhaps there is, perhaps there isn't. So if you have a person who is consuming genetically modified food, not only is the person adapting to a form of change which alters the fertility of that person, perhaps, but because in the manufacturing process every item of food is actually completely different and unique to one another, in a wide open world of supermarkets where you're selecting lots of different items of different stocks from random selections in different batches handled in all sorts of different ways, then it's going to cause your body or your system to adapt to those changes. I think what's happening, perhaps in the case of increasing cancer levels, if I'm correct, is that how do I put it? How do I explain this? It's like, maybe it will be the case that if we eat more genetically modified food, the cancer might actually start to go away, or it might cause cancer. I don't know which. But if it were to make it go away, it would almost be like the human being or the brain is going through a shift, a process which actually drains the cancer out of its system, which suggests an infertility basis because in my mind anyway, because the cancer itself is being drained from a system that can no longer handle, because the cancer would be there to actually sustain some other element of the system, and it cannot manage it. A bit like stem cells. This is I apologise. This is actually quite a difficult subject to go through in my mind, and I suppose it would be really, but give it a brief pause. Check the time. How long has it been going for? Only 4 minutes. Hang on, just a moment. So the next part I was thinking about is that cancer can be asymptomatic to begin with, and we tend to people tend to try and treat themselves in fanciful ways. They may even buy odd items and all sorts from the supermarket and things like that. This is one way that they can try. And there are probably many, in inverted commas, disorders which are asymptomatic to begin with, and yet it's treated as if we're filling ourselves with lots of, symptom cases, symptoms like this is symptom X, this is symptom Y, this is symptom Z, overloading the system with garbage, rather than having a proper treatment. But on the other hand, if you have a proper treatment according to the symptoms of something that you're burrowing into and understanding, you do need an intellectual or an academic to try and solve the problem on that level. But at the other end of the stick, you've also got different people of different strengths and weaknesses in society that contribute intellectually towards the gene pool and environment in a social manner, using the social conduct and intellect of their minds, and that too should shape the elements of what we consume. So all of these shifts that we're going through to adapt to the changes that are taking place, that may cause infertility and may eventually cure certain problems because of the changes, but at the same time weaken the human being as a whole. And then that's the thing, isn't it? So this is rather abstract, of course. It's all about taking what you can out of this, because I probably don't have the capacity to edit my thoughts in my own mind too much. And the final part is that, obviously, maybe not obviously, but if a person is to undergo a huge transformation and turn into actually a machine, again, is it not the case that a machine is basically an infertile object? So, and I wonder some of the complications that would occur when trying to develop an android or a human cyborg, some kind of hybrid, is that would there not be so many complications due to cancer growths and all sorts of things of that nature, and people would end up in comas and all kinds of ridiculous things. So I think these experiments may have been going on for a long time, and really I don't think the population should be thrusted into some human experiment where we're all consuming all wide manner of ridiculous things. I'm not saying it doesn't have a good novelty value to it and whatever, it's just so it's a rather difficult juggling act, isn't it? Because we first have to learn about ourselves, don't we? That's number one. And then we have to administer the correct treatments, but we have to choose between the specialist and the general treatments. And it seems that the general treatment is the treatment for the fertile aspect of the human. And then the specific treatment is actually the intellectual selectivity of the human race, where people act within their own accord and in their own manner without being too obtrusive and obtuse and getting in the way of other people. So I think reducing these matters down to pure subjectivity and rabble rousing and that kind of thing, maybe that isn't the solution. So I hope my thoughts have been sufficiently clear on this matter, although it is not really a case that they have to be absolutely sufficiently clear. It's just, this is a general abstract which has come from the crop of my mind, so maybe this will be helpful. But anyway, I am pleased if anyone would have watched this, and I hope this is useful for certain purposes of which I'm not entirely aware, but nonetheless hope that holds true. Thank you, and see you later.